An excerpt from Major Spotify's Guide to Appeasing the Gods, 2nd edition. Dedicating oneself to podcast work isn't just a noble pursuit. Becoming host or co-host is the closest thing most of us will get to touching the power of the gods. The rest are listeners.
Amazing.
Welcome back to Between Pages and Friends, a book club podcast hosted by Con and Lauren, two besties who read a lot of books, and Jon and Kyle, their 5-star husbands who have proven they'll do anything for you, even join a book club. I'm Kyle.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Jon.
I'm Con. We are continuing Onyx Storm today from the Empyrean Series by Rebecca Yarros with chapters 51 to 59. This is a book club style podcast, meaning there will be no spoilers here for future chapters. So if you've somehow only read through chapter 59 of Onyx Storm and exercised immense self-restraint in pausing the book to listen to this episode, this is a safe space to process while we discuss.
Additionally, this is your mild content warning. Onyx Storm is a new adult book, meaning it was written for audiences 18 and up. Therefore, our conversations about this book are also best suited to adults. We'll be discussing themes and quotes from this section that include cutthroat action, broken bonds, and bros before hoes.
That's right. And if you're having fun with us here, you'll love what's going on over on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can join our private Discord, monthly book chats, and special live events, or jump into the $10 Found Family tier for early ad-free episodes, merch discounts, and even more perks. Links below, so come join the party. Then, pack your bags and hang out with us at Enchanticon 2025. It's happening August 15th through 17th in St. Louis, Missouri. We are so excited to be official influencers this year. We'll be hosting a session all about Throne of Glass, celebrating fantasy, and soaking in panels, meetups, and the legendary Far, Far Away ball. Don't forget to use code FRIENDS15 for 15% off your tickets at enchanticon.com.
And lastly, the best way to support the podcast for free is by leaving a quick review on Apple Podcasts or Audible. It only takes a minute, but it helps more listeners find us and keep this little book fam growing. Here is a recent 5-star review on Audible from our new bestie, Kindle Customer, titled, "Obsessed is an Understatement. Between Pages and Friends is the book club I didn't know I needed, but now can't live without. I first found them on Instagram and jumped into their podcast when they started covering the Empyrean Series, and let me tell you, it was the best decision. As someone who's moderately older than the usual book talk bookstagram crowd, I don't always feel like bookish content is made for me, but this podcast, it gets me. It's refreshing, wildly entertaining, has me counting down the days till the next episode. Every week they bring the kind of banter, sarcasm, and unfiltered thoughts that make me laugh out loud in public, zero regrets. No matter your age, check out this podcast immediately. You'll thank me later. Thank you, Kindle Customer."
Nice.
That is so nice.
No matter
We're
your
all
age.
young here. You too,
Yeah.
Kindle Customer.
Ages 3+. That's what our podcast is.
Mild content warning. 3+.
All right. Well, welcome back to one of Con's final declassified fantasy pronunciation guides for Onyx Storm. I only have 2 names for you this week for our second to last reading section. The first in characters is Jax. This is Quinn's girlfriend stationed in Erasia. And the manwasa flower apparently used with lye to dye the hair silver. And that's it.
That's got to be your shortest one ever.
Good job.
I think it is.
Has to be.
And you crushed
2.
it.
And I crushed it.
No notes.
No notes.
2 pronunciations.
That was amazing. Oh, great callback, Jon.
That sounded like your Irid impersonation.
My ear. Oh, yeah.
Hello, human. 2 dragons. All right. Take it away, Juan.
A horde approaches from the east. Heard that one before. Anyway, the leaders gather up and talk strategy, but time is running short as the enemy draws closer. Zayden and Bodhi, my Bodhi, get into a little spat.
Bodhi.
Aric tries to tell Violet to protect Dune's temple. He clearly knows something, but we don't get to know what that is, as Violet basically ignores him and everyone goes to their stations. Real smart. As Violet lights up the clouds, they see the attack in dozens of smaller groups, all in different altitudes and flight paths. They're ordered to stay close to the wall, but they ignore those orders and they do some fighting in the dark. Well, Taryn does, and they take down a few wyvern. Then notice a group flying low toward Andarna, guarding Dune's temple, and they rush to help. Violet shows some signet development here in a pretty sweet way, splitting a single bolt in two and hitting both marks. But they fall on one of the wyvern and Taryn gets injured. As Ree uses her signet to get the claw out of Taryn's leg, 3 more wyvern approach. We get some interesting comments here from the High Priestess of the temple as well toward Violet. And then Theophany shows up, and Violet recognizes the faded tattoo. Theophany used to be a priestess of Dune. Theophany sees something coming for them and just bolts with the other 2 Venin. The wyvern attack, she takes out the lead wyvern, but then the other 3 are already falling toward the ground. But they careen toward them like a battering ram once they hit the ground. Xaden shows up to save the day and save them from getting crushed. And then Leothan appears out of thin air, having come to fire the wards at Eratia. And that's why Theophany ran, because the wards were up. As they chat, we find out that Leothan is a distant relative to Andarna. They are of the same den also, essentially. And then Leothan tells Andarna she can learn their ways, but she'll have to be gone with him for at least a couple years, as she is taught. He tells her to break the bond. They talk about how Taryn was the first to speak to Violet, so it should be a little bit easier. It's still going to be rough, but Taryn will sustain Violet, basically allowing her to live. And because Andarna is Irid, she is magic, and she can shape the bond and break it as she sees fit. Violet ultimately gives Andarna her blessing to go, and although Andarna is reluctant at first and kind of slow to act on how exactly to break the bond, it seems that somehow Leothan does it for her. I don't know, they get the mental slide whistle, and Andarna looks around wildly and then disappears in gusts of wind and a roar, and the bond is broken. Violet collapses. They take her back to Eratia, where she basically stays in bed for 3 days, questioning her existence, but getting some of the outside world through her bond with Taryn, which is now as open as it ever has been. Meera shows up to help her snap out of it. Brennan also shows up. He's shocked that Meera was the one that got her to talk to people and interact, which she does, and finally gets out of bed, taking a bath. Xaden pops in, no pun intended, to help her out and keep her relaxed. They head back to Brennan and Meera arguing about Asher's time in the Isles, the journals, and Mira's visit to her grandmother. Through the conversation, Violet realized that it was her dad who took her to the Isles, not their mom like they previously thought, and kind of what that means for her and her path moving forward. And then Meera learns that Xaden is Venin, and she storms out. And civil war is pretty much on their doorstep, with Navarian troops stationed at Tyrandor's border. Quinn helps Violet with some rune weaving. Felix shows up for signet practice with Violet, and also gives her kind of some tough love on following orders and the importance of not straying from that. Had Leothan not arrived to fire the wards, her and Xaden's deviation would have pretty much lost them the fight. So, oopsie. Xaden and Bodhi continue to argue about something, and then we get...
Bodhi.
All right.
Bodhi. Okay, sorry.
Ridiculous. No, it's fine. I'm just giving her a time. They continue to argue literally about something. We don't really know what. Not really. And then we get an off-screen emoji erotica, which I will quickly sum up with what I can only assume would be chair, tongue, rose, wave, eggplant, wave, exasperated face. Violet's in Xaden's dream again. They look upon Dreythus being attacked. Violet realizes that she is Xaden in the dream and basically removes herself from his perspective to become herself in the dream, which honestly is kind of crazy if you think about it. He starts to run toward the city when she yells out to stop him. Then the sage shows up again, recognizes Violet and her dreamwalking signet. He demands that she bring them, quote unquote, her. Violet creates daggers at her side so she can then cut herself to wake up. And then she wakes up Xaden. Violet's a little bit confused because she's still able to dreamwalk with Andarna's bond severed. And then Garrick shows up Abruptly at their door, looking a little bit worse for wear, sent with a message. Theophany sent him back with a message that the Venin have reached Dreythus, and they have 5 hours to bring Violet and Bodhi, or again, quote unquote, she dies. And after some thinking, they realize that Theophany has Meera. They spend some time planning. Garrick shares what Theophany said exactly word for word, which was to bring Violet and Xaden's brother. And they figure out that who she really meant is Jack. And I told y'all, we are not done with that dude. You should have killed him when you had the chance. Then Brennan gets real with Violet, makes her pick a singular objective to win, not a save everyone type of method, but one objective to make it all work, and she settles on killing Theophany. They make it to the clearing finally, where Theophany has Meera beaten up by the looks of it, a blade at her throat and her ribs. Theophany continues to insist that Violet will change in this very moment, actually. With time almost up, Garrick appears with Jack in that ribostad chest or whatever. Violet thinks the deal is done, but they're dealing with Venin, and Theophany proves that by stating that they are very careful with their wording, and they also lie as she slits Meera's throat. She then hurls the dagger at Jack's compartment and then runs away, leaving the scene in chaos as Violet and Brennan rush to Meera, Brennan trying desperately to mend her while everyone else is basically fighting off the remaining Venin and/or wyverns. Sloan shows up kind of randomly with a letter to give Violet. It's addressed to Aric, but apparently she needed to get it to her. Dane is also there, having followed Sloan after she left formation. And then Sloan uses her siphoning signet to take power from Dane and then give it to Brennan to help save Meera. And for the moment, it seems to have worked. Hallelujah! Dane and Sloan leave shortly after. They still have a plan to stick to, apparently. We don't know what it is. Xaden says bye-bye and goes to do his part. And when he's gone, Bodhi tells Violet that they have a problem.
Good job, John.
Was it though? I feel like, I don't know what, half of the stuff in my brain, I was like, what does this mean? It's just one of those, I guess, today. It was weird. Anyway, thank you.
This is why...
Whoa.
Hello?
Oh, is that that Irid whistle thing?
Dang it. No, I have to stay in the episode. Okay. No, I'm saying that even though this is a shorter chapter section for us, so much happens. And so that's why I told, when Connor and I were planning it all out, I was like, I feel like we need to stop here, even though it's so close to the end, just because there's so much to unpack in this tiny little section. So
I feel like it was a good kind of down point, to stop before finishing it out.
It's kind of like they're all there and they go, okay, break. And now they're all about to go do their thing.
Yeah.
And it's a pause right before we jump into the end. Okay, chapter 51. This is them talking about how the wyvern were coming to attack right at the very, very beginning. And they mentioned that one of the wyvern had outflew 2 dragons. And so it must be...
dragons? Sorry.
Amazing.
Yeah, she really had that one lined up, you could tell.
She was waiting for it. But it says they must have been green fire wyvern. And then I want to know more about them. I don't know why there's blue fire or green or whatever and what makes them what. I feel like I've brought this up every time they've been mentioned and I just don't know. My guess is because they're created by Venin. So maybe they get more powerful if it's connected to a maven compared to a sage or something. So maybe if it's a green fire, maybe that's Theophany and her maven powers or something.
I feel like that's a good start. That would make sense to me. I mean, especially like you said, since they're created by them.
Yeah, from them or whatever. Yeah. I just would love to have the history of Venin. How to create Wyvern 101. I just need...
My question would be, do you think it has anything to do, or do you think it might be related to the different color of dragons?
For brown and black fire as well. Someday, maybe.
Interesting.
Ugh. I think the only information that we really have is that the green fire wyvern are characteristically faster than the blue. But then there was also cherry red fire mentioned.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think those are the only 3 types we know of, but we don't really know the difference between them. And I'm sure there are more.
Yeah.
It's weird that
and Violet's reading all these books that seem to know this information since she just casually drops this.
Yeah.
But I don't get to read that book, and I would love to know that information.
Same. Yes.
They have their
Yeah.
own Wyvern Empyrean.
At first, I thought it might just be like, oh, the cherry red, that's sort of normal fire, maybe a little bit more neon. And then blue, I was like, well, that's just a hotter fire. Mm-hmm. But then it changed to green, and I was like, that's not a real thing unless you have certain chemicals in it.
Yes, exactly. Now all of a sudden it's flu powder.
So yeah,
That's what they use to make those.
like they're faster, but are the fires any different? Do they burn different, or like?
There's just one wyvern up there flying, can't fly in a straight line because they said diagonally. And they're like, what did they say? The wyvern just can't fly straight.
Sounds like a great stand-up bit for a dragon to do at open mic. Wyverns cannot fly straight, am I right? You see them flying around diagonally.
Oh my gosh.
Well, then Zayden's jaw ticks, so here's our first cheers of the night.
Yum.
Delicious.
It's for our audio listeners.
They all just hear like awkward drink sounds and noises in cups.
Ice jingling.
Awkward
I have to let them
slurps.
know we're done.
I've been going. Okay, this is the first of many fights that we see between Bodhi and Zayden, and so obviously
Bodhi.
a lot of it happens. A lot of it seems to happen off page, and we just kind of walk into, with Violet's POV, into one of the conversations, or I guess in the second one, Bodhi and Zayden walk into her POV. But this whole little fight where Zayden says, neither of us have an heir. We're all there is, Bodhi. I don't have time to argue, and you will do as ordered. Our family just got Tyrandor back, and I will not lose her because of your ego. Understood? And then Bodhi's eyes narrow and says, okay, we'll lose her because of yours. Understood? And I was just like, oof. Ugh.
Got him.
Yeah, it was rough. John, were you just trying to narrow your eyes?
I was narrowing my eyes. Yes.
I was like, I couldn't tell if you
I
were
was
looking at me or like you're being like, ugh, she said that.
We'll lose her because of yours.
Yes. I mean, it's kind of a good line, like if you're going to be at somebody right before you walk out of a fight, but also,
true.
Oof. And then this line where Violet says, stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to me whole. And I wrote, my note was, yeah, Zayden, no playing hockey out there. Stay off the ice. That's all I can hear every time.
Put him in the
This
penalty
did not
box.
occur to me a single time on my first read.
I must read too much hockey romance, but that is
Yes.
all I can anytime.
More like a hokey romance, am I right?
That's right, Kyle. That's exactly right.
It's just them doing the hokey pokey.
I was going to say, you put your right hand in.
The whole hand? And you shake it all about.
Oh, no.
Stop!
Oh, God. Too far.
Too far, Kyle. Too far.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Anyway.
So my next note. Okay, my next note was Violet's like inner POV is like freaking out for Zayden, and Taryn says, "Do not worry for him. He wins no matter how this battle goes." And I just wrote another big oof. That's Taryn. I feel like Taryn's view on Zayden is like been very clear. He like puts up with Violet and all the things, but like not only has Taryn screwed up his mate, but also his rider and like all the things, and just like I don't know, these little one-liners. They were so good in this chapter, like in a negative way for like the characters, but like top tier writing from Rebecca.
Also, still like 100% dad energy of like just never being on the boyfriend side of your daughter. Like, yeah, he's an idiot.
You chose.
Well, my very first note for this section is Aric saying to Violet, "You have to protect Dune's temple," followed by, in a whisper, "It's how you save Tyrandor." And I was just like, in addition to last episode, I think Jon began the theory of like some precognitive powers from this guy, and I was like, this definitely backs that up. Like, if nothing else happened except the door thing, I'd be like, fluke. But the fact that he's saying weird cryptic stuff, I'm like, yeah, I mean,
It's so Aric.
Oh my gosh. He just says the wildest things.
Stop. All right. I love this really cool power development from Violet here. Taryn says to her, your squad leader requests light. And then, quote, I know Ree isn't talking about the glow from the orb, so I twist my hand upward and wield again. Heat whips through me and lightning strikes overhead, spreading through the cloud. I hold my fingers in their splayed position and push another wave of energy outward, prolonging the strike in a way I've never managed before. This was so cool. And it sounds painful based on like how much effort she's had to put forth before. But that's like a really excellent display of control. And I love that little sequence of development. And then Violet says, it's too dark ahead. I can't see. And Taryn says, we are the dark. Drop the conduit. And I put another Batman gif that says, I am the night. That's all.
My favorite part about that was when Andarna was just like, you blended in with the night. That's hardly an accomplishment. Andarna's just blending into everything. It's so good.
I miss her already.
Okay, chapter 52. So Violet's using like all this epic power in ways she never has before, like splitting the lightning into two and doing the cool light up the space and everything. And every time it like talks about how she's like literally putting blisters on her hands and like the rain is steaming off of her and all the things. But this description that said, and I draw a breath of pure fire. And it's just like how hot she is. Also like how hot she is temperature wise. But I was like, imagine if she was actually able to, like, because that's where my mind went. And then I was like, oh no, she's just talking about like, you know, when you put like a, I don't know, hot food in your mouth and you're doing the whole like, you know what I'm talking about? That was Violet in this moment.
That's what she was doing.
She was like, lightning. Exactly.
It's okay. I'm fine.
That would really be unfortunate, though, if like every time she wielded, she couldn't taste anything for a week.
Yeah, that's true. Like she burns her tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she can get mended. She just has to flick her tongue out, and then Brennan will do his magic.
Can you fix it?
It happened again, Brennan.
I feel like if anything, she should have like a strong like nickel taste in her mouth, because that's what lightning would make me feel like when you get like shocked and you have that. None of you have ever been shocked, I guess, that much, maybe.
Sure.
That metallic
Hit me again,
taste.
tube sock.
Yeah,
Let's
the
go.
metallic taste. When I was a kid, I cut the cord to one of my like electric items, and then I was like, "There's no way the wall holds this much power." Touched my thumb to it and like took it off, and I was like, "Whoa! It holds that much power for sure." And then I had like a nickely taste in my mouth for a while.
This explains so much.
I never told my
Wait,
parents.
Sloan?
So if you're listening, Mom, that's what went wrong.
That's why the electric bill was high that month. Like, what are you expecting to happen? My next note is when Andarna again disobeys, or just doesn't listen to Violet's requests of where she should be during a fight. That we've seen her do that 100,000 times. And she was going to the temple because that's what Aric said to do. And Violet's just like, you know, he didn't tell you that. Like, he was telling me that, whatever, you should be where I asked you to be. And then Andarna yells at her, like, how are you angry at me? Princes do not make suggestions, and I am an extension of you. Am I not everything you wanted me to be? Am I not fierce and courageous as he is? Is this not what I'm supposed to do? Sharpen my claws on my scales of the enemy? And it's just extra sad because she's coming out of that conversation with the Irids where she was just totally like slammed and shamed for basically trying to be that and trying to be like Taryn. And so for her to just say to Violet, like, isn't this what you wanted? Like, for me to be here doing this or whatever is just extra sad. And then I think it was really hard on the reread knowing what was coming with Andarna in this chapter section. And just like that hit a lot harder for me than the first time.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like, oh, Andarna's cute. She's like a toddler. Oh, she says all these fun things. She's a juvenile. But like, she's really going through and like having these like really mature moments and thoughts for her. And this is one of those that really got me sad. Poor Andarna.
I love her so much. Very cool power development once again, but from Rhiannon, retrieving the wing spur from Taryn's leg like it wasn't no thing.
That was epic.
Freaking amazing. Love
Well, and
her.
she even
She's
was just
"I
like,
practice."
done. She's like,
Yeah.
she didn't even sweat.
Yeah. She's like, I've never retrieved anything that big before, but, I practice. So. Go, girl. Oh, and then I thought this was interesting. There was a quick little mention of one of the Venin, it seems like, being able to distance wield like Garrick. And after seeing Lynx manifest shadows so quickly after Xaden turned Venin, I'm assuming that Garrick maybe was the balance for this distance wielding Venin. I don't know how soon after that Venin turned. Like, it may not have been that quick of a turnaround, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I'm assuming that he was the balance for that. And maybe the distance wielding is one of those, like, first 6, like, most powerful signets that are going to come back into play now. So maybe it's like shadows and distance, and then lightning / storms, or I don't know. I'm excited to see
Raw
what all of
magic
the,
or whatever Violet
the
has.
6 are. Yeah.
We do also get some, info from the Priestess when they're there, where she asks Violet, did you use lye and the juice of the Manwasa flower on your hair as we do? And my notes were just, first of all, not the time to be trading beauty tips. There's a lot going on around here. Maybe save it for later. And second of all, man, what's that flower? Is how I figured this flower was named in this world. Just like, man, what's that flower? Man, what's that flower?
That's what we'll call it.
Yeah.
I'm great with that.
Yeah. Also weird for a flower to have juice. Now that I'm reading that again, like, I don't know. I know
Yeah.
there are some flowers, I guess, in our world that have juice, but for drinking, not for like hair dyeing. But whatever.
Well, and it's just interesting that they seem to try to dye their hair to get that way, but Violet's has always grown that way, and then the Priestess acted surprised by that.
Yeah.
That was, like that her hair could grow like that or whatever. So does that mean that she's rare that that's happening to her, in the sense that nobody else has ever done that, or just that, like, that she's one of a kind, whatever, or that all these other priests or priestesses aren't dedicated, they just serve at the temple?
I would relate that to how they have, like, the archives, how they have, like, librarians, and then what would Justinia be called? Like the scribes, and then just like librarians.
Or even how, like, she's on the adept path or whatever, and so she's going to be, like, even higher than the regular scribes.
So there's some, like, maybe some, like, just general acolytes type thing that they're just there to...
And they
dye their hair and look cute.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they outlaw dedicating children, right?
Children, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if dedication, though, I mean, I would assume part of that has to come from the god being like, I approve. So maybe all these people as adults attempted to dedicate it, and then they're just like, oh, well, I wasn't approved, but I'll still dye my hair in, like, reverence or whatever.
Well, and maybe because, like, a kid, at least one as young as Violet, obviously when it happened, had no choice in the matter. And, her parents had made that decision. So maybe these people are on the path to dedication. Like, they have to learn so much or take some classes or something before they're, like, approved to be fully all in.
Because
the rest of their life or whatever.
Only the High Priestess had the tattoo, right? The others just had the hair dye. Because I feel like that's more of, like, a show of commitment than anything else, is the forehead tattoo.
Tattooing your face.
Yeah.
Which says something about Theophany.
I guessed that Theophany was a priestess of Dune. So I just called it Bith.
You got him.
I would curious to know, like, her story with that. If she channeled for, like, a noble cause kind of thing to, like, save something or somebody, and she ended up just, like, taking too much or something
And go pure evil.
What if?
It's just super interesting, because it's like, especially her being a priestess of Dune in that sense. Like, I don't know.
What if, because, like, she seems to know more about Violet than she lets on. Violet specifically.
Theophany?
So,
is that what you're talking about?
yeah. Yes. So what if, like, she obviously had that tattoo, she was very dedicated to Dune, and then at one point in her life learns, oh, this child got dedicated and Dune chose her, and that was supposed to be me, and then she just sort of forsook the religion and was like, screw this, I'm gonna just draw the power from where I can get it if my own god doesn't see all the dedication I've put into it, and then I'll take her chosen one and make her mine.
Theophanie's been alive for centuries, so she would have had to already been Venin in order to do that, I would think.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we know
But
she's that old?
She said something about it, I thought, at one point.
Shoot, I was gonna say, like, what if she was part of? What if she was like on the Isle when her dad brought over Violet,
She was the one who dedicated her.
or even that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was part of that whole thing. That would be crazy.
Interesting.
But then the timing would be like, 15 years or something like that. So,
According to Google, just real quick, this isn't anywhere in the book, but it just says Theophany and Onyx Storm is centuries years old. She's described as one of the oldest Venin in existence. She knows other
dang.
Venin that are older and faster than her, but her exact age is not specified in the book.
okay.
I just
Well,
remember
maybe
it saying
not.
centuries, and us talking a little bit about, like, does that mean they were there part of the original six, and it's going to be like the original six Venin versus the original six.
I could still,
something,
I mean, even if she wasn't directly involved in it, I could still see her holding a bit of a grudge for obviously having been a high priestess of Dune, and now this other girl is, like, supposedly, maybe even touched by the gods herself or whatever, and just being real pissed about that.
Especially
go here.
especially being a lightning wielder. So like they have, so like I mean the Venin have to know that, like, how those signets are created because of them, because of the balance and magic. Like they have to know that.
Yeah, because I would think the Venin get the powers first is what I've been thinking of. Because especially if Theophanie's been alive for so long, who knows how long she's held on to that signet. And maybe the only reason it hasn't shown up is because everyone who could have possibly had it before Violet has died in all of the many ways that kids die at this college before they could ever, manifest it or whatever. The universe has been trying to get another wielder, and Violet's just the first one that actually did it.
Yeah.
What if what if they're like, whoa, Xaden turned Venin, and now all of a sudden there's another shadow wielder? What if all of the most powerful riders turned Venin so that more riders got their signet and they had more power to use to defeat the other Venin? They're like, if Violet turns, then we'll get another lightning wielder immediately.
I like they're farming power.
By turning evil?
By turning evil. We'll defeat the Venin by becoming the Venin.
guys, this is going to sound crazy, but...
Hey, nobody knows.
Let me throw
All
something
theories can be out there. Minnie shows up. I don't think that's right.
Okay, end of chapter 52. Leothin is here. My first read note said jaw drop OMG, and John's note said
What? I was not expecting this, although I called it that Leothin was going to be the one to kind of.
Well, and he
come
acted
back.
like he'd been watching for a while, so like who knows how long he's been there? Did he ever
Yep.
even go away? Like,
Yeah, he just followed him back the entire time.
He could have been there long beforehand, too, watching them.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
like
Nobody
on the
can see 'em.
continent.
Yeah.
True. I expected him to come back at some point, but like not here. Like this seemed fast, I guess, for him to just be like, surprise, fired your wards for you. You're good to go.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's been a couple weeks. I mean, in book
Yeah.
time, it felt fast, but like she was back at class for so long, and then they had to fly all the way to Tyrandor, and they were there for a little bit. I don't know.
I think I was predicting initially that the Irids would like show up at the very end in like some massive, battle scene down to the wire. All their other like backup plans are done, and then all of a sudden they show up, and that's like the actual end of the book. This is still very close to the end, and it's just him. But like, I don't know. I think I was expecting that. So I was so surprised that he showed up here.
Welcome to Chapter 17's one and only pre-chap. Kyle, our children are asleep in that direction you just screamed.
I didn't want to go right into the mic.
That was amazing, though. Thank you.
Wow.
That was unplanned. Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
It's the only one we got this episode, so we got to hype it up.
Wow.
Pre-chap.
And hype it up you did.
Thank you. So the pre-chap does say, Asher returned today. God's help us if anyone finds out. I'm not sure I'll ever forgive him for what he's done to her. And this is from Captain Lilith Sorengale's journal. So the assumption here is that this is about Violet, that he took Violet and like he returned today. And, you know, if anybody finds out what he's done to her. But I always get nervous when it's like those vague whatevers, because even like the dreams Violet's been having where it's like, bring her to me, and we're all like, is it Andarna? Who is it? And then it turns out it was talking to Xaden about Violet the whole time. Or is it? I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. And then the thing with like the brother, and we all thought it was Bodhi for a minute, and all of a sudden it's Jack. Like anytime it's not like this specific name, I question it. So for now, I'll accept that it's probably about Violet. But maybe it's about something else. Maybe.
And this is the chapter when Andarna leaves. And I will say I did not cry this read, but on my first read I was sobbing through this chapter. And even the beginning of 54, I had to like pause reading for a little bit to calm down and then come back. Mm-hmm. And this was, I was reading this and Jon was at home with me, and I came downstairs to get tissues, and I was like sobbing, and Jon was like, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. he was like finishing Fourth Wing at the time. Uh-huh. And I was like, it's not what you think. And he's like, I don't want to know that.
Well, on my first read, I cried like a baby girl. And on my second read, I cried like a baby girl. So let's get into it. Cry count number 1 for this chapter was when Leothin said, we are separated by many generations, but share the same bloodline. Unlike others you encountered who are more a distant line, we are of the same den, or would have been had you been raised among us. And then they're like, this is her family. This is like who she belongs to. And I was like, oh, Andarna found her real family. It's like all she wanted. After I just highlighted the other line about like, isn't this what you want from me? And she's like, doesn't know her place in the world. And I was just like crying. It's a whole moment.
He's probably her grandson or something.
Probably.
That doesn't really make sense.
She's his grand dragon. And then I thought this was just an interesting moment for like an interesting connection where Leothin like cuts off Tairn and everybody else from that conversation with just Violet, Andarna, and Leothin. And so she's separated from Tairn, and she says, I reached down the bond, but there's a stronger shield than his blocking us, Leothin. It's oddly similar to the effects of this serum they dosed us with during RSC.
Oh, yeah.
And I just felt like that was like weirdly, like, I don't know why it would be oddly similar. Maybe it's just coincidence or something. I don't know that the people at Bazgaiath know about the Irids, or at least say they know about the Irids enough to maybe know how to make a connection like this, or where they would have learned that. But like, we know that serum, like, nobody knows where they got that from, or at least we don't.
Yeah. And
like how it works. And this is like randomly just brought back up. It just feels one of those like one-liners Rebecca's trying to put over my eyes, and I'm like, no, I see it. Then we find out that Andarna is magic, whatever that means. But Leothin says, like, our lives, our minds, our very energy that forms us is intertwined. Oh, that's what Andarna says about Violet. And he goes, so end it. Bonds are merely magical ties. You're Irid. You are magic. Bend it, shape it, break it as you see fit. What does that mean? Like, and he's just, I guess that's why he can just do the bonds and like talk to whoever the heck he wants to, and like whatever else. And maybe that's even why they can go invisible or just change their color and stuff. And then what does that mean for Andarna? Like, because we already at least I already thought she was going to end up being some key player in something and have some super cool power or something, whether it was her signet at some point or whatever. And so now it could be potentially literally anything. Like, is this the cure to like curing like a venin, or so she could just change it, you know, or I don't know. There's just like a lot there.
Well, and I think like I was convinced the whole time they were on the Isles that Violet was like channeling from Andarna, because she could still, you know, talk to both of them, and it seemed like she was wielding her signet and stuff even on accident.
Well, I think that's why they could still talk on the island.
Right.
Because
including
of Andarna.
Tairn. But I wonder if that was not so much Violet like channeling to talk to Tairn as much as it was Andarna like keeping that bond in place.
That's what I think too. And I think if Andarna wanted to talk to Sigale, it probably would have accidentally worked. And then we'd have been like, how does that make sense? You know, just Andarna didn't, I don't know. Or at least that we see didn't try. But and then cry count number 2 here was when Violet told her, I want you to be happy and safe and thriving. I want you to live, even if it's not with me. And then Leothin says, admirable. I understand your choice. So I'm bawling my eyes out, reading all about her leaving and then breaking the bond and all the things. And then final cry count is at the very end where it just said, Andarna's gone. And so while this is all in one chapter, this is me crying, pausing, tissues, pause. Okay, let's read again. Crying, pause, tissues. Okay, let's try one more time. And so I'm counting it as 3 cry counts. So
Wow.
there you go. I'm back in the lead.
Wow.
You've taken the lead. We need to get you an actual trophy.
I would love that. I'm going to put it on my bookshelf.
Just a teardrop.
Tear.
Yeah.
And now we just have the one dragon.
Oh.
Kyle.
Oh no.
Broke my heart again.
Well, moving into chapter 54, my first note here was in Violet's point of view when she was out of commission for a few days there, and she said that she could sleep, but she couldn't dream. And I just thought this was kind of crazy. I was expecting, I mean, we find out later that she does still have, you know, that power. But when she said this, I was almost expecting her to kind of have issues with that second signet. But I thought it was crazy that she couldn't dream at all, even though she can still do the dreamwalking thing. But
I highlighted, this too. I was like, oh my gosh, her second signet is gone. And then when later we get that she's having another dream, I don't understand how that works. Because isn't every time you use your signet, you're drawing power from your dragon?
I don't know.
But her dragon's not there. So where does she get this magic from? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
I do think that maybe she just doesn't have her own dreams anymore. Maybe that's the downside of having that signet. You don't have your own dreams.
Yeah, I'm not questioning that she has the signet still.
Yeah.
I'm questioning where she's getting the magic to wield said signet, even if it's subconscious while she's sleeping. So.
And I like that Tairn's answer to that was just like, I've encountered this as many times as you have.
It's like, can't help you there, friend. I was like, sweet, thanks, Dad.
I don't know if it's similar to Andarna's like Feathertail gift, how she like gifted it to Violet. I don't know if it's a similar thing where like maybe she just gifted her that power and she doesn't necessarily have to actively channel from Andarna specifically. If there's some sort of magic source, or I don't know.
I mean, but technically nobody that we know of has straight up died, or like that their dragon has left them, like that bond has broken and that they have survived, like that they did not die. That we know of, other than like a venin, but we know they're drawing from the earth. So like this is potentially uncharted territory that we know of. So maybe if that did happen to someone else, they would still have that power somehow, or
yeah, I mean, if
somewhat.
Venin can have signets.
And she's an Irid, and like Leothin said, she is magic. So maybe there was something with like how she, kind of like you said, like how she gifted the magic to Violet, that even though she's gone and that bond is technically severed, there's just that lingering power for her.
Yeah, because if Jack was able to kill his own dragon as a Venin, I would assume that other Venin who were riders, maybe their dragons died or broke the bond somehow. But if they're still able to wield a signet of some kind as a Venin without having a dragon and
Have
only
we
having
seen
Wyvern
Jack
or
wield?
something. Well, no, we don't know specifically about like Jack's signet. I don't think we ever learned what it was. But I just mean like if he was able to, if he was able to break a bond like with his dragon or kill his own dragon, that maybe the Venin who were writers that do have a signet, you know, if their dragon is gone and they can still wield it, then maybe it is like that. Like once you have the ability to do it, then it doesn't matter what the source of the magic is. You can still like wield the same signet.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, because if getting a signet is just an unlocking of a power that you need in that moment that was within you or whatever, she still has a dragon she's pulling power from, and she just has another ability that was unlocked or something.
Yeah. Well, and they said, didn't the Irids even say like their language was like you've given her something far more dangerous than shadows or whatever. So yeah, I don't know.
Just a lot of questions, and I hate that when we're at the end of a book and then I just get more questions. Dang it. I do think it's interesting how Taryn leaves the bond wide open, like in a way that's never, like that she's never felt before, unfettered access to him. And it's just like, you know, a way to like basically keep her connected to him and to a bond and to the earth, I guess, and not dying. And I totally understand her being completely out for 3 days. I want to sleep for 3 days. Like, you know, I get it. I understand. However, I would love any amount of time of unfettered access to Taryn's thoughts and all the knowledge that he seems to probably know and all their little dragon secrets. Who knows what conversations she was like weirdly there for while Taryn was living his dragon life and she was just like completely out of it and didn't register any of it. Could have been the end of the series. We just have all the answers. But, you know, but instead she took a nap.
I thought this was so sweet though, when she does like wake up and she goes to clean up in the bathroom and stuff, and Xaden comes in and offers to help. And he says, "May I wash your hair?" And she says, "Please." And then it says, "The simple pleasure of his hands working soap through my hair gives me a flicker of hope that I might just be able to feel something positive again." And Lauren and I always joke about how frequently like hair washing happens in romance novels. Like the guy is like always washing the girl's hair. And sometimes it feels like super random and out of context, or like, I don't know, like I don't know that I would want somebody washing my hair just like on a random Tuesday because we're in love. Like,
or they get way more enjoyment out of it than I feel like is necessary for just washing someone's hair. But like, okay.
Right. But I will say, in this instance, this is one of those rare times that I actually like really love it. I loved this whole scene that like Violet asks for help and Xaden responds by offering something like very specific and actionable and comforting, and like making sure that that's something that she wants from him. I just feel like Rebecca writes Violet's grief here and just the small comfort so beautifully. And it reminds me of like I've experienced times like that myself. And then like it just made me think of a close friend that was going through like a deep bout of depression, and her hair like got so matted because she couldn't like wash and brush it. Like that was just something that was too difficult for that time period. And one of our other friends like cut her hair for free. She was a hairstylist and like just invited her to her house and cut her hair for free. And just like things like that. Like Elise Myers talks a lot about that, how she had a friend that like washed her hair like that when she couldn't bring herself to do it herself. And so that was like, it's such a small thing, but like because specifically of what she was, the kind of emotion that she was experiencing in that moment, like it just, I don't know. I just thought that was written so beautifully, and doing simple things like that can be so difficult when you're grieving or experiencing depression. And I just love the way that she writes it here.
Yeah, I really love that. And the fact that she's like, Violet's even like, you know, you have so much more important things to do. And he's like reassuring her, like, no, this is to me the most important thing. And then after like he helps her and takes care of her and stuff, he finally says like, do you need me to take care of you or kick your ass? Because I'm fully capable of and willing to do both. And I just appreciated that too. Because there are times like when I want comfort even that I'm like, can you just let me feel my feels? And can you just let me cry or just hold me or whatever? And then other times that I need the like reassurance, like, no, get up, you got this, like you could do it, like whatever, you know. And so I appreciated him, like he just knows, I don't know, the boundaries and understands maybe what she needs there. And it was just top tier Xaden moment.
Oh, so good.
My next note here is they are this is Meera. She's talking about kind of what was in the journals of her mom as she's been reading through. And she mentions, she's talking to Brennan here, I believe. And she says, the months are missing in the middle of the book. They're from the summer Mom and Dad left us with Grandma and Yara. Mom purposefully didn't write anything. And this was before we find out that it was her dad that took her to Umbriel or whatever. But my question here is, was this the time when like they took her over to the Isles or something? I feel like that would make sense, especially if they didn't take them, if they only took Violet, but maybe she was just like too small, like they couldn't leave her back. So maybe she was just too small and they had to take her with them. But
I totally agree with that, especially because whenever they come back, that's when the parents stop talking to Grandma Niara.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Or whatever.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
it's
she also
almost
mentions
like
that.
maybe she would have seen Violet's hair or something that would have been like, you just broke the law or whatever. However she would have reacted. And then that ended that relationship.
Yeah. And maybe that's just the very first time that they took her over there. And then the time that her dad took her over is maybe when the whole like dedication thing possibly happened.
This is another little like trail off the sentence kind of moment where I was like, wait, I want you to finish the sentence.
Classic.
This is classic Rebecca. This was Meera trying to convince Brennan that Asher tried to dedicate Violet to Dune as a baby. And she said the priestess started the process, then told Mom and Dad that they only accepted children whose futures are certain. And Violet still had paths to choose from. And it like her sentence gets cut off. Brennan cuts her off. And then she says, and one of those paths, ... And then she shakes her head. They refused to take her. And I've been requesting temple records for months, but of course none of them would list a child, let alone a Sorengale. So I like one of those paths. What? Why did she trail off there? Does she know what they said?
I thought I was taking it as one of those paths is her turning Venin. She just didn't want to say that yet. Because that's kind of where this conversation ends, where Violet even asks, like, do you think I'm going to turn Venin, like, right now? And she's like, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. And she says, like, all the things. So that was my assumption here on the reread, that that's what she was, but I don't know. Obviously.
Well, to be fair, I think that might happen too, so.
That she's going to turn Venin? Well, I have many of these notes tonight of the casual dropping of one line here or there that Rebecca just keeps putting right in front of us, dangling it like a little comment here and there, but then moves on. And this is one of those times that Brennan does interrupt Meera in this back and forth conversation. It says Brennan throws up his hands, revealing the rune-shaped scar on his palm. Moves on with the rest of the conversation. I was like, oh, there's something going on with that. Why else would you bring it up?
And it really, though, it's only been mentioned like once or twice. And it's always in passing like that. I'm pretty sure it's only been mentioned like a couple of times.
I feel like it's got to be more because it bothers me every time. I have it like twice in this chapter section. I have it another time here.
I'm going to search.
Okay.
Search.
You do that.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I'll keep going. But it does kind of seem like Violet's assumption. Obviously, we don't really know. This is the children trying to figure out the secrets of their parents, which I think it is Violet that says like we did not even know who our parents were and all the things. So there's a lot of guessing and speculation here, but one of the guesses is that they took her to the god to fix her. And I'm assuming that means like her weak joints or like her muscles, like however she was as a kid. And that's maybe one of their initial reasons to try to dedicate her, thinking the god would heal her or something, or I don't know. That was kind of what I was getting out of that. Is that what you guys...
That's what I assumed too.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why Dune would be the choice for that, but that's what I had thought.
Dune is the god of war. That was my guess. Okay.
Gods of war. Sorry.
All right. Maybe because they are in war against Venin and they knew that, or they're... I don't know. I have no
Maybe
idea.
they knew that this condition would be a war for her, and they wanted her to win
Maybe?
it. I don't know.
No clue.
Okay, I really think that this rune-shaped scar, I really think this is the only mention in Onyx Storm, and I think it was only mentioned once in Iron Flame. Like,
really?
Right at the beginning. I'm pretty sure.
Gosh, that feels like I don't know.
which makes it feel extra sneaky.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 89% sure that there's only been 2 mentions of it this whole time.
Well, I feel like that's one that I want to like look into and research, and then we can chat in Discord when this episode comes out, because I bet somebody else knows more than we do.
Yeah, I think chapter 2 of Iron Flame and then chapter 54 of Onyx Storm. Those are the only 2 I can find.
Oh, well, because I have another one in
quick
this chapter
search.
section. So that it happens in this.
Maybe not. Then.
Brennan rubs the scar on his palm is the sentence later. So like,
maybe
I
it's
searched
just palm and I didn't see that.
I don't know.
Okay, so 3 mentions.
That just surprises me because it bothers me so much. But maybe it's because it's my reread, so I've read it twice, and now it's 6 times instead of 3. I don't know. Okay, well, this chapter ends with Meera finally saying like what she was told by, the priestess or whatever, and said that she says that the heart that beats for you or within you would do the wrong thing for the right reason, reach for unspeakable power and turn dark. And then Brennan's like, within her or for her? And then Xaden like interrupts like, it's not Violet, it's me, because his heart beats for Violet, which is cute in its own right, but also he's Venin, so that's like not cute. But
This is his Elphaba moment.
it's me. He gets on his dragon. If you care to find me. His shadows is his cloak blowing in the wind behind him. Violet's, I hope you're happy.
Does this make them fated mates, Lauren, if someone had predicted this like prophecy of them?
Yes, it is. Right?
I was wondering.
So now the whole enemies to lovers conversation doesn't matter. They were fated mates the whole time.
Ugh.
I feel like you could be both, but sure.
Nope. No, you can't.
No. One or the other. You get one trope and you like it.
Well, because it
Pretty
didn't
sure
matter.
it's been miscommunication if they only get one.
Oh my gosh, yeah, tell me about it.
But it's like, it didn't matter if they liked each other or not, because in the end, it was still going to come together because they were fated the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that line didn't work in high school. It was like, it doesn't matter if you like me or not. We're fated.
Oh my gosh.
It's
My husband, everyone. Yep, that's my husband.
Anyway, time for some real talk. Okay, if you've listened to all 17 episodes of this podcast season and you still haven't bought a mood reader candle, baby girl, what are you doing? Look, you've sat through emotional breakdowns, epic plot twists, spicy scenes that made you question your broken moral compass, and you're telling me you did all that without a candle to set the mood? Because mood reader candles are hand-poured, book-inspired, crafted by a reader who gets it. We're talking scents that match the vibe, whether you're in your cozy cottage core fiction era or spiraling through a fantasy war college, there's literally a candle for that. No candle, no ambience. No ambience, no immersion. And honestly, that's a red flag.
Hit him with it.
So go ahead and treat yourself. Head to moodreadercandles.com. Use code FRIENDS10 for 10% off your order. Mood Reader Candles, because reading without one is basically a spoiler.
Ooh, nice. And we're headed into chapter 55. My first note here, I'll read a little bit here, but it's talking about how Navarre is only one step away from declaring war on Tyrandor for denying the Cenarium. Halden has troops stationed along the Caldier border, just waiting for his father to give his order, which prompted Xaden to cut off shipments of Palladium until King Tauri confirms their alliance stands with a provincial commitment and the Eurasian riot is safe at Basgiath, all but stalling the War College's forge. And I read that and I was just like, yo, this is crazy that this is all happening while they're basically just getting surrounded by Venin all the time, just constantly. Pretty wild.
Halden is crazy.
Yeah. It's like, all for what, honestly?
Yeah.
7 inches.
Only if you're good. Anyway, when discussing how to perform runic magic, Violet is told to be more assertive and aggressive with it due to Terran's power being harder to coax, to which she replies, harder, rougher. I can do that. And I noted, yeah, you can.
That's exactly what Riddick said, too. He's like, I'm sure you can.
And then Zayden's jaw ticks.
Ooh.
Cheers.
This is just...
Refreshing.
Yes, we're done drinking for all of you on audio.
I am refreshed.
Stop now. You can stop now.
Stop! For the love of God! This is just a nitpicky note, again, for me, where at the end of this chapter, she says that Zayden's smile instantly becomes a core memory. And as we're, oh yeah, big fan of Inside Out, Violet? Or are we some reason referring to magnetic computer core memories? Because I'd like to know the lore reason as to why we're using a phrase only recently popularized in mainstream media in a fantasy setting. A little nitpicky, but it did actually take me out of it. I was like, core memory? Get out of here.
I actually had the same thought here. I was like, Kyle's going to love this.
Well, I didn't.
I was just distracted by the fact that they were going back to the throne.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
That was like a
Yeah, I
discussion.
appreciate
It's a core
it.
memory for me, too.
It's a discussion Lauren and I had when I stopped reading that part, because she was like, where did you get to? She was like, oh, they're going to the throne. And she's like, ooh. And I was like, no. She said core memory. And I went on the whole
I was like,
much
whatever.
longer
I
spiel
walked
than
away.
what you got.
I appreciated, John, your imaginary emoji
yeah.
erotica.
Oh, I did
Your,
as well.
Yeah, that was nice. I appreciated that.
Welcome.
Your imagerotica.
It was,
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay, this is chapter 56. We've kind of already talked about this. This is when Violet has the other dream, or another dream, and it is from Zayden's POV. And so she's in the dream, and it like becomes like sentient, like she's
or
Lucid?
I guess.
Yeah.
where she like takes herself out of Zayden's POV and is part of the dream and all of the things. So again, very confused on where that magic comes from, but we've had that conversation. My only note actually from the actual dream was when the sage smiles and it says cracking the skin of his chapped lips. I was like, oh, he needs some of that Vogue branded chapstick from the Throne of Glass. Get some sensual lips up in here.
That's right.
That's my only note.
I love that. Yeah, and I mean, you kind of touched on this already, but my notes were just that, one, the sage is clearly aware and actually conversing with her, which
Yes.
is terrifying.
Yeah, because I only
Like-
said Violet, but like the fact that he's also part of it freaks me out.
Yeah, and like he like recognizes that she's a dreamwalker. Like that feels like that was a real conversation that was happening. Like he was actually aware. And then he says to Zayden, "You lost something I wanted, but you will bring her." So I thought that because he was talking to Zayden and not Violet, that him saying "you will bring her" was still referencing Violet.
This is what I was talking
But
about earlier
then-
with the pre-chap, where it's like
Yeah.
when they don't
Game.
say a name, it could be literally anything.
Yeah, but then what did he? If he is talking about Violet, then what did Zayden lose?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it because Andarna's already gone? Like if they wanted Andarna and
Maybe.
but I mean Zayden didn't technically lose her.
But bringing Violet brings Andarna, so maybe that's what the hopes were with that.
Maybe.
Because
I
maybe
also
Violet
feel
or
like-
Andarna's magic or Irid magic or whatever is something for the Venin. Like, I am convinced though that the Sage is the other Dreamwalker. Like we talked about it last episode.
Oh,
But I feel like that
Violet's
just
the
makes
balance
sense
for him.
Yeah. To me, that feels like in this scenario, it makes sense. Like last episode, I was
yeah.
kind of questioning it. Like, it seems like he's like having a conversation, actually warning them about Drathis and like all the things that are happening or whatever. But this is like very clear, open conversation. I see that you're
Yeah.
here and doing this, you know? So it's like also that he said it's taking her a while to learn. Like he's probably known she was there for a while and was
Yeah,
waiting
that's
for
interesting.
Violet to like pick up on that fact. So I don't know.
It really seems though like we're not getting all of the conversations that Zayden has had with him. Like it really feels like they have talked a lot more than what we've seen. And I don't know if that's purely in his dreams. Like we know that she's been there for a lot of his dreams, but maybe not all of them, or maybe they've had more in-person interactions than what we've seen. Because even the like replay of the scene at the end of Iron Flame, it just seemed like we were picking up somewhere that like we had missed stuff already. So I don't know, but it does seem like the sage has been having like actual lucid conversations with him before. So yeah, maybe Violet is the balance for him, and he's been dreamwalking like to Xaden to try and convince him to turn or bring him whatever he's looking for.
I mean, Theophany's able to sneak notes into Violet. Who's to say this guy isn't trying to have side conversations with Xaden? Xaden's just not sharing things or whatever.
Yeah.
My main thing is with that, though, if he is a dreamwalker and is asking Xaden to bring her, much like Theophany went straight to Violet, you'd think that he would just go straight to Violet. And, like, why have some middleman working for you, you know?
I don't know if they think that Xaden turning and, like, learning more is going to be the way that Violet, like, because obviously she's a lot more invested now in learning more about the Venin because of Xaden. But it's not like they're actively threatening Xaden to try and get Violet to, I don't know.
It's like they're equally terrified of her signet and also want her to be on their team. So it's like they're not going directly to her because they're somewhat terrified of her, but at the same time want her to be on their side. So they're trying to like a roundabout way or something.
Or unless, like, if he is a dreamwalker and knows Violet is, then he's going through Xaden because maybe for some reason if he was in Violet's own dream, that would be a lot more dangerous for him if she has, like, extra amounts of control in her own. So this is sort of like a neutral-ish ground if he does encounter her.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's had dreams without her because, like, she was in not Maven's dream. What's that girl's name?
Oh, Marin.
Marin's dream.
Yeah.
And so she's, like, had, you know, obviously other times, or maybe she's just had a night where she didn't, you know, have a dream.
And
or
maybe
she wasn't sleeping at the same time Xaden was sleeping, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you're onto something too, John, with like maybe she doesn't have her own dreams anymore and she can only be in somebody else's, and that's why he had to reach her through Xaden's.
That'd be interesting. Kind of sad too. You don't have any more dreams?
I don't think I would miss
remember.
mine.
I got some dreams.
I don't
weird.
I don't remember the last time I dreamed.
I have dreams all the time.
I just wake up and then I'm like, well, back to this.
I had a dream where I was very Selena and Kyle was very Sam. It was this whole like adventure, whatever, and then Kyle came and woke me up, and I was just like, well, I guess I can't save you now. Like in my half asleep, like,
And I was like,
woke me up.
She's like, I can't save you anymore. I was like, okay, it's time for
like,
breakfast.
the
So
kids are awake. Like,
Well, I saved you some bacon.
I have dreams all the time, but it would be sad, like even just the thought of saying like Violet's lost her dreams. That's depressing. Okay, chapter 57. I have a lot of questions here. So the quote here says, a smartass captain snaps something back at Cat that I can't hear over the din, and Sloan charges. I nearly jump over the table, but Dane gets there first, hooking his arm around her waist and hauling her back as she swings. The second he sets her on her feet, those fists are aimed in his direction, and I wince as he lets two make contact before trapping her wrists and leaning in low. Whatever he says must register because she gives a curt nod, then retorts with a glare and walks back into formation. So, first of all, what was this whole thing about? Like, what did this dude say that made Sloan act that way? And like her being so close to Kat, and like the whole, is it just because they're part of the same squad, like, or something? And so, but like everybody else was there and nobody else acted that way, so it just feels weird that it was Sloan. And then also, what did Dane say to make her stop? And this is obviously like clear, like, ooh, Dane and Sloan moment, right? But I just want to know what that is. Like, why can't I be on the inside of that conversation?
Yeah.
he probably just pulled her close and went, stop.
In his wing leader voice. That's Dane's wing leader voice. Stop it.
Guys, I'm going to call my dad.
Call my dad.
Sloan, don't ruin this for me.
Oh man.
I guess I didn't really think about this when it happened. I think I assumed that this was just supposed to be some like character development sort of for Sloan, that she's starting to care a lot more about her squad, and like, because then she shows up and offers to wield in this section too. So like, I don't know. I guess I didn't really think about it, but that is interesting.
I don't know. It's the only mention of cat in this whole section. So it's just like,
Meow.
is it supposed to mean? Is this supposed to mean something? Like, I don't know. And why do they keep this captain guy around if he's a jerk?
Yeah,
Just kick him out.
smartass.
Yeah, get out of here.
Maybe Kat was doing
Scram.
all that just for fun. She made that guy's emotions. He made a comment. She made
duh.
Sloan get angry, and then Dane was just like, Sloan, it's just Kat being a bitch.
I
Calm
bet
down.
she did.
What if she's like wing womaning Sloan and Dane right now? Cat.
I could totally see that. Yes.
Nope.
I
totally
want that
forgot
to be
about
the
her
answer. I want that to be headcanon.
It has to be.
Kat would have to be the best wing woman ever, because you could be like, well, that guy's kind of cute. She would just say, yeah, he kind of likes you, and now he likes you a lot. Have fun.
She would. Too.
Just crank those emotions up.
That's interesting.
That has to be what happened.
I feel like, especially because it is the only mention of cat, so it's just like, and that's what she does. So I accept that answer. Good job, Kyle.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Zayden's jaw flex is here, so cheers.
I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom soon. Zayden, stop.
The only time you'll ever hear Lord tell Zayden to stop.
Whoa!
I don't want him to be a venin. He can stop doing that.
He can stop. Being
He actually
fictional.
can't. He already is.
Can you read your next quote so that I can?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, 2 furrows appear between Zayden's brows, and his mouth tenses. Cheers again.
I was holding my drink that whole time. This is the other mention of Brennan, where it says Brennan rubs the scar on his palm just in passing, and I just wrote, guys! Yeah, what's he doing? Like... But Connor did it like this, like he was presenting his palm and then went, like he's cleaning it off for everybody. That's what she did the first time.
Just intentionally drawing attention, like, nobody's asked me
You
about
see
this.
this? You see this? Okay.
The guy who really wants you to ask about his scar. Gosh, my scar itches today.
Let me stop you right there. It's like, puts it in your face.
Talk to the head.
All right, my next note here. This is when Brennan kind of gives, or is talking to Violet and is kind of making her choose like one objective, and he says, "Above all else, we need you to understand that you cannot save everyone, and you cannot stray from your orders." And Violet says, "I'll do whatever it takes to save Meera." In her point, in her like head, and then she says, "Fine." And I was like, famous last words here. Like, yeah.
Classic
all right.
female main character in a fantasy novel.
Her famous last words are fine.
That's right.
Yep.
That's what she said out loud. Classic. All right, chapter 58. I just thought this was a really funny. We get like a lot of different turns, I guess, in this one, with him being like sassy and kind of rude and super BA and all the things. But I thought this was funny, where Violet asked how Sigale was and if she, would even be okay with this mission or whatever. And he said, had she not agreed, she would still be in Erasia with your dark one would be walking. I thought that was funny. And then later she says, and you think I should have accepted Meera's death as a sacrifice? And he says, well, if I did, I would still be in Erasia and you would be walking.
Thanks, Dad.
Yep, exactly.
All right, my next note here. This is when they're on their way to meet Theophany, who has Meera, and they've kind of like set their plan in motion, even though honestly we don't know much, if anything at all, about whatever their plan was here. But Taryn says, "You are our lightning wielder, and while your life may not matter more than other riders, your signet does. You are the weapon, and will have to learn to accept the sacrifice of others in your name if you want to win this war." And I was like, speak of the truth, Taryn, like seriously. But honestly, I feel like, because like when she kind of made the decision, like she was thinking through it and she was like, okay, I want to kill Theophany. Even Brennan was kind of like, oh, I didn't even consider that option, but all right. I guess that was kind of what they went with. I feel like this decision is going to doom not only Meera, but maybe Xaden too, and like possibly herself with whatever, because it doesn't sound like she's going to necessarily follow orders. Like that was her last comment with, I'll do whatever it takes to save Meera. And then she just tells Brennan, fine, I'll follow orders, quote unquote. So it's like Felix was giving her a hard time about following orders. I feel like she's not listening here. I feel like she's supposed to be the smart one, and she's like, I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not listening.
I'm not listening. Ah, la, 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 la.
Exactly.
I had just a quick note here about Aric where Taryn even says, Mulvik has been spotted along the cliffs. He was seen flying south away from conflict. And Violet's thinking, like, what could he be doing? And Violet says it's not like Aric to run away. And Taryn says, nor Mulvik. Which, first of all, we don't typically get a lot of, like, Taryn's input on other dragons. Obviously, it kind of makes sense in this context, but that was interesting. But my first read note said, bro, what TF has he been up to this whole book? I need an Aric POV ASAP.
Yeah, for real.
He's just thinking ahead. Get it? Because you can see the future.
So Aric.
That's so
Aric. It's a future he can see.
I mean, personally, I want an Aric POV for more than that reason. But that's fine.
Oh, I see.
All right.
Rebecca, if you're listening, maybe in the next book, you could just...
Send all your Aric fan art to Con.
And
Please.
fanfic.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Make a fan art of Aric seeing his future with Con.
Yeah, do that.
As a guest on our podcast.
He's just like sitting in a chair.
He's just another little camera. Got his own little headphones and a mic. Okay. I just had another highlight of when Theophany shows up and her smile cracks with her chapped lips. And I was like, why did these Venin have such chapped lips? Like, get some chapstick. I feel like take care of yourself. Jeez. You would think channeling from the earth would, like, sustain your body enough that your lips wouldn't be chapped, but whatever.
They're
Drink some water,
centuries
maybe.
old.
Jeez.
Hydra.
She's like a raisin out there.
Because that's their big concern.
Yeah, she is wearing like purple robes or whatever, right? So it's just a
As I live and breathe.
shriveled up old raisin out there wielding
Raisin?
lightning.
Ride it. That's their big concern, though. You're right. The Vogue go back home after a battle, and they're like,
The Vogue?
I'm so pruny. Oh,
The
yeah,
Venin.
the Venin. Sorry. All the V-named evil things in these super powerful FMC, Fated Mates, MMC, blah, blah, blah books.
Blah, blah,
Blah,
blah.
blah, blah.
They're all the same.
No, they're not. My feelings about them aren't the same.
Denied.
And that's what matters. Okay, I just want to be clear. I know that the sage is in Xaden's dreams. And I believe that sage is Berwyn, correct?
Yes.
Is that the same sage that Xaden killed, quote, quote, at the Battle of Basgayeth that I keep being like, did he really die or is he actually there? Is it the same guy, right?
Yes,
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure.
How do we know that? Prove it.
I don't know. It's a great question.
Right now.
Prove it.
Show me the body.
Well, exactly. They threw him in the river and he just whatever. And I don't know. It just, I was always skeptical about it. And then we know there's been the sage in his dreams. And then this guy who is Xaden's sage. But does that mean that's the same Venin or the one who took over? Is he, I don't know.
You throw a Venin hundreds of feet to the ground, their favorite thing literally in the whole world. He's fine.
They love the ground.
I was falling for so long. I missed you. He's like,
Finally.
He's just rubbing the dirt.
He's like falling down. Oh no.
This is terrible.
Oh, I'm so bummed.
No, I'm bummed.
According to the Empyrean Series.fandom.com/wiki,
I hope that doesn't have any spoilers in it.
the Empyrean Series.fandom.com/wiki. Is that what you're saying?
What are we?
if there's, like,
What are
if
we
there's stuff for
sponsored? Say their
yeah,
full
famous.
government name.
I
Maybe
just mean if
other
there's-
people want to look it up.
I just mean if
Okay.
there is information from all of Onyx Storm. You know,
I don't think
do we
so.
have a way of knowing that?
I mean, it does say things in here that we have read before. I just don't remember
Makes
ever
sense.
learning this fact. And I don't remember if it's in the end. So we can talk about it later if we want, but
I don't think it has said it outright, but I
No.
would say that would make sense because even I was confused on how Xaden reacted because he looked up or like looked toward the direction of like where they referenced Berwyn was or whatever in the city, and he almost said it like wait, like Berwyn, like what's he doing here? He almost like he was familiar with him somehow and was surprised that he was there.
Yeah.
So maybe that was kind of a giveaway.
Yeah, I think that's why I assumed that. Because I thought it even specifically said something about Resin at one point.
well, and I know that like there was a sage at Resin, but do we know that that was Berwyn specifically?
I feel like they were pretty generic in their
Is it the
description
same
of that
guy
one.
at the battle as Basgiath? And then was that guy the same?
I guess
one?
that was my assumption, but maybe
Or
they
is there
don't
just
say
a
that.
bunch of sage? Or
It
is
doesn't.
there
I don't
just
think
the
it ever
one
gives like
sage?
outright
So.
names. I would. Well, first of all, figure that there's more sages because they're lower tier than the Mavens. So
Yeah.
that would just make sense to me. But they're also all described the exact same.
Well, I mean, it also, the only names of Venin we've gotten are Theophany and Berwyn. So I feel like it would make sense that since this particular sage was like,
A named character.
has been the only other real important like Venin character, unless
Oh,
it is a
yeah.
different person every time. I don't know.
Jack is a Venin character.
Xaden. is
Xaden
another
He
is
character.
also
a
has a
Venin
name
character?
and we know who he is.
Dewey, Connor. I don't know
Maybe
what his
not.
signet is. So,
I don't know why. I just thought you said Dewey as if that was another person who was a Venin. I was like, wait, who's Dewey?
Dewey is a Venin. He's the guy that's in the
You
Pep
know.
Talk Dragon uniform.
Dewey,
He's the
Huey,
guy who is
Louie.
the Pep Talk Dragon.
Derwin, Berwyn and Derwin. They're twins.
That was Dewey's Venin origin story. Was getting stuck into Pep Talk Dragon.
Yep.
Nobody gave him water. He had to siphon the earth.
Yep. He turned into a raisin.
His lips were chapped.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm just
well.
gonna move on. When Jack randomly gets brought up again, this is like Jon mentioned it before and said it in his chapter recap with the big "I told you so." It makes it feel like he's supposed to be some bigger part of the story, and here he just gets like taken away. Like no, he's just, I'm here, and then just kidding, I'm not. But in a world that like literally people die left and right, this man cannot be
Yeah.
killed. Like he is just always around. He's like, dude.
Thank you.
The cockroach of
He is
Basgiath.
of Basgiath. That's his new title. And then when Theophany finally like slices Meera's throat, and it just like, I thought Meera was gone for real, and it's like the gasp I gusped. Like I was floored because I love
Yep.
Meera so much.
Yeah.
And I just feel like she has so much like character development happening and things on the side that I know one day we're going to figure out. And I thought that was it. I thought that was going to be the end of it. And I was like floored. And I'm glad
Big-
it's not the case, at least
Yeah.
right now. Like she's
Big jaw
seems
drop
to
for
be-
me here too. Yeah.
We
you
thought
got-
about making this the end of the chapter section.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her slice her throat. Done.
That would have been
that would be a
kind of
little
neat.
too mean.
Yeah.
It is a little.
Kyle. Oh no.
It would be
I
like
was
that
just-
For when
time.
he makes the schedule.
It would be like that time whenever Garrick interrupts them from going for a sixth time because the whole college is under attack.
Fifth time.
And then all of a sudden it's just war games. And like we let you guys in that episode be like theories of attacks in the world, and then it was like War Games 2 paragraphs later, and you guys were like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Just War Games." That was what this moment would have been. So we learned our lesson.
I see.
And tried to be nice, giving us one more chapter. So
I forgot to put a note that I had in here actually for when her throat was slit, because earlier on when they were like on all the islands, I was like, wow, she's so jealous of Violet for being like, oh, your dad left books for you and everything's about you. So my note was literally just like, well, she's the center of the attention, so she got what she wanted for that little moment. Everyone's paying attention to her.
No.
that's not what she wanted in that moment. She wasn't just out for attention.
Oh, well,
Maybe
not
by
in
her
this moment.
dad, but maybe by her father, but not by
Yeah,
everybody
I know.
else.
That was just a silly note that I wrote. Don't worry, everyone. Everybody
Don't
loves
come at Meera, Kyle.
Meera.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Don't come at Meera.
Everybody loves middle children.
You're a middle child.
Yeah, I speak from experience.
Are
Hi,
you both-
Mom. Just
Oh,
kidding.
John's
I know
the
you're not
youngest, isn't
watching.
You're both the youngest. No, I know
Yeah,
you're
John
not
and I are both the youngest child.
Kyle and I are both the middle.
Nice.
I thought when you said that she was jealous, I thought you were going to say that you thought Meera was going to turn Venin because of the thing from the Fables of the Baron when it said like the third brother grew jealous and like drew power from the earth.
Okay, though.
Okay.
I not that I want that from Meera, but when I
Yeah.
do think that it could be, because that's one of my potential theories for like what that means is it's going to be the 3 Sword Guild children. So I always thought it would be Brennan being whatever, but maybe it's
Yeah. I mean,
it's Meera.
in the fable, like they're all, one's a rider, one's a like flyer, and then
Yeah.
the third brother, I don't think bonds. with
maybe
anything.
the scar on his hand is his secret connection to his griffin that he secretly has.
Oh.
And when he rubs it, he's weirdly petting it. I couldn't even say it without laughing.
Getting into our final chapter, 59.
So valid. Continue.
Go on.
All right. Our final chapter for this section, chapter 59. And this is kind of the bulk of my notes for this chapter section. This is when, yes, she slits Meera's throat, and then she says, "Time to play, Violet," and she hurls the dagger at Jack, and then Violet like rushes toward Theophany, like tries to chase her or whatever. Xaden throws shadows her way, but they're deflected. And then as she's running toward her, once again, a wyvern plucks up Theophany, and they just fly away. And a couple things here, okay? First of all, I think Theophany wasn't trying to retrieve Jack at all, but to provide him with possibly some power or something in the form of that dagger. Because why would she miss? That's literally so stupid. I think Jack may have been acting like he was sedated, and he sneakily just drained a ton of power from that dagger. Plus, it had Meera's blood on it too, right? Can't they pull from like writers? Can't they pull power from people? So
Okay, but
I also
I don't
think
think
that's a
just
thing.
from-
Maybe not from blood, but maybe that somehow gave that dagger more power. I don't know. Something was going on there. She clearly meant to like miss him or like stick the dagger in the like the cabinet or whatever
In the
where he was
chest.
in the chest. And then secondly, she says, "Let's play," and then immediately runs away. Like, I'm literally so annoyed. Like, she's supposed to be a maven, and they're so powerful, yet this is the third time, even outside of her running because of the wards being back up, that she's had a wyvern just come, like, pluck her up. Like, what is this writing? With everything she always knows, it seems like Theophany would have counted... It seems like she would have counted on Brennan to be there. And possibly being
Yeah.
able to mend Meera, but like, does she not know about Sloan? I guess, like, I don't know. It just seems like she's all knowing except this very one convenient fact that allows them to like save Meera in the form of Sloan being a siphon. Like,
Yeah,
get
but
outta
Sloan
here.
wasn't supposed to be there, or wasn't there,
Yeah.
or whatever. She's a first year,
I know, but like,
so she like broke the rules to get there, I guess.
Well, and Sloan has been like too scared to wield at all. Like she hasn't really been wielding at all for most of this book.
I think that she was hoping that Violet would channel. Like that would be
but
a reason to make Violet channel and turn Venin.
But that's my point. This is my point, though. Like, she had to have known Brennan would come. It seems silly with how she's interacted with Violet up to this point that she would just assume, especially with all of them there. It's like her and like Xaden's there, Brennan, Bodhi, like all these people. Like, did she really think none of them would even try to stop her from channeling? Like, it just, for me, it doesn't connect with how it's been leading up to this. It seems like it was a very her like poorest attempt so far of being like, I think you're gonna channel right now in front of like all of your closest family and friends around here to probably not stop you from channeling. It's just like were you really counting on this to work? Like there's a huge disconnect for me here. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it did seem really cocky to me that she was like, I bet you're gonna do it right now. Even if she was planning to like slit Meera's throat, because then like what was the point of having them bring Jack? Was it literally just so that Brennan would also be there? And I don't know.
I mean, later in the chapter, Xaden yells, like, get the chest out of here to Garrick, and says if she wants him dead, he obviously knows things they don't want us to. And Jack has been, like, spilling secrets is something else she said. So I thought she was just trying to kill Jack. Like, each time that she tried to sneak into Basgiath or even now to get him to stop sharing secrets.
I really don't think so, though.
I agree. I don't think she would have missed if she really wanted to kill him. And then especially,
I guess. I just thought it was blocked. But like, I don't think she did it on purpose, but
because she threw the dagger and then just left. I feel like if she really wanted him there to kill him, she would have made sure the job was done before she fled the scene.
When she tried it, Basgiath and didn't win.
And like so many times that they've interacted with her, even when Violet has been like thinking about the scenarios that they've been in, she's like, Theophany's way too powerful. All she has to do is channel from the ground and we'd be dead. And it's just like, then why doesn't she do that to literally everybody else but you? Like, I don't understand this. It just doesn't make sense to me. I got super worked up about it.
That's valid.
That's why I feel like there's got to be more here than what we have
like with
in this
Jack
scene.
or whatever.
Yeah, just like I don't know. Like there was all the crazy stuff that happened at the end of Iron Flame, and then later at the beginning of Onyx Storm, we got a little bit more insight. I don't know if it'll be something similar, where like maybe later we'll learn more about like what the heck was going on here.
I have like a little bit addition to this for like thoughts and theories. At the end, but I definitely don't think I definitely think she did this missed on purpose, or just like threw the dagger at the chest on purpose. And I like, maybe she meant to kill Meera, or maybe it was just a big ploy. I don't know.
It could be to like confirm that Garrick can distant wield. Like,
I mean there could have been multiple.
They could have known that from that first interaction with Garrick and Violet and Theophany near the beginning of the book, but also like they only gave him 5 hours to get Jack there from Basgiath, and it's more than 5 hours away. So like, I guess that just proves the fact that they can do that or something. I don't know.
They're like testing some different people's power.
Yeah.
I will say though, I feel like, I don't know if this is true or not. Really, the only thing we know about the Ribosad chest is that it can hold items placed inside suspended in midair. But it, like in Iron Flame, Xaden says that it was the most valuable item his father owned. Like it was Fenn's, and like Takara specifically wanted it because it was like super valuable. So maybe there's something else that maybe there's some other implications of like what it could do, and there was some, maybe part of it was motivation to get the chest there.
Yeah, but then it just gets taken away again. So
right.
Yeah, but she stuck it with the dagger.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something on the dagger.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if poison from one of their daggers would mess with the magic in the chest,
or the blood of a rider or something.
Yeah.
Interesting. The part that really got me here was another one of these one lines that I feel like Rebecca is tricking me with, where Xaden tries to like stop the dagger, and says projects a stream of shadows towards Theophany, but the bands fly southward. What the F? No time to think. And then she just like moves on about something. And I feel like the only time I've seen somebody's like signet just stop is with Bodhi. Maybe whenever like that one student was like fire wielding or Carr was like coming at him with fire, and then he just like waves it away and it just like floats off or whatever. So that's like, was Bodhi stopping Xaden's signet here, or am I just making that up? Like that's the only thing I could think. Like, why else would his shadows just stop?
Yeah.
That's never happened with anybody else ever.
It did say, I don't know if they were like in close proximity during this exact part, but weren't there 3 other Venin there because one of them like distance wields, or was that?
Yeah,
that
they were
was an
holding.
earlier scene.
I think they
That
were
was at
holding
the
down.
temple.
The distance
at the
wielding one
temple.
was earlier, but now there's people holding down.
Right.
Yeah,
What's
there's
her
other
name's
Venin
dragon?
there.
Meera's dragon in the
Yeah.
nets and stuff.
So
I just
don't know if,
assumed it
like,
was somebody else, or even just some of the lesser magic that Theophany might be really strong at.
But that is interesting because it wasn't the dagger that was being like batted away. It was like Xaden's actual magic, like his
Yeah, his
signet,
actual
shadows, right?
Shadows.
Well, because we just specifically learned that there is a Venin that can distance wield and that Lynx is like the balance for Xaden, maybe because of that mention in Iron Flame where like Bodhi was one of the most powerful riders, like he should have been mentioned in Battle Brief or whatever it was. Like he was one of the most powerful, but people never think about it, that maybe
I'm with
he
ya.
is also the balance for one of maybe another
Yeah,
one of the
them
Venin can
also
do
stop
that.
signets. Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. But Bodhi's also like pissed at Xaden.
I
And
know.
they've been fighting this whole time. So
But he also says he'll be his right hand man no matter what, whatever stuff. So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying it is Bodhi. I'm just
Yeah. I've
I've never seen it other than that one time with Bodhi and Carr with
Yeah.
his fire or whatever. So
My very serious note here was when Xaden says to Dane, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And Dane is referencing Sloan and says, "Following her ass." And I said, "Yeah, he is."
follow it anywhere.
What are you
Following
doing
that
here?
ass.
So they're delivering this letter or whatever, this package, I think,
cylinder package, whatever.
to Violet, and they just say, Aric said you need this, giving this to Violet. And I just wrote, at this point, it's a foregone conclusion. Like, of course, I think he's like giving her future warnings or something like that. I don't know, but
And I wonder, like, if like maybe like Sloan was set on purpose.
Oh.
Because Sloan helps out this moment with Meera. Like, why would Aric send Sloan? I mean, not that they're not friends,
all
but like
people.
they have. I don't know.
Well, and yeah, I mean, he could have just sent Dane by himself, I guess.
Yeah,
If it
could've
was
sent anybody.
like because
But
Dane
instead
says
send
something
another
like,
first
"I'm the
year."
only one that doesn't need to channel today" or something.
Yeah.
So maybe he knew that they would have needed Sloan.
yeah,
Oh,
he knows
snap.
everything now.
He does know some
Interesting.
stuff.
He does. He
Faux
knows all kinds
show.
of stuff.
Well, then next, while Sloan gets ready to do her siphon thing, it says Dane tells Sloan to put one hand on his wrist. And it says, she stares at the gray handprint that scars his forearm. And I was like, what the hell is this? Excuse
Yeah.
me.
On my
Was
first
this
read,
from
on a
Jack?
damn minute.
Oh.
on my first read, I was also like, WTF? Like, where did this come from? Whatever. But on this reread through this podcast, it happens
Yeah.
when Violet is being tortured, right? No, this is during
No,
the.
I thought it was end of
the
Iron
part with
Flame.
It's,
the
the
word stone.
the word stone in Basgoyle.
And then
Yeah,
Jack
'cause
like
Dane
is
was
evil
like-
and stuff, and Dane tries to like go up and stop him, and Xaden,
Those are Jack's handprints.
Jack hands. Yeah. My God, I did not explain that very well.
Totally
Jack
forgot
hands.
about that. Jack hands.
Jack hands.
Well, because like
That's
'cause,
his
yeah,
signet.
Dane was like trying to restrain Jack or something, and then that was when we had that little conversation about how Xaden like was waiting, and then finally like stepped in to help, right? And we had
Yeah,
that
and he, like,
conversation
paused.
about like.
Right.
Yeah, and we were like, was he waiting to give Dane time to like try and read his memories or something? But Jack was like
Oh, yeah.
doing some Venom stuff,
And
I guess.
Boy.
apparently,
Dane's
it's just
arms.
left him
That's
gray.
a throwback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to like a month ago.
Yeah.
But I also, on my first read, was like, when did this happen? You know, and then on this reread through the podcast, I was like, oh, okay, there it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
But
What I thought was like super interesting at this part though was Sloan wraps her fingers around Dane's wrist, and then it says her eyes flare and she swallows, and she says, "Someone like you shouldn't have this much power." And
I
Dane
also
just
highlighted
like
this.
he's like, just focus on the excess, whatever, blah blah blah. Like he just kind of moves on. But what does that mean? Does she mean someone like you, meaning like someone with a mind-related signet? Or someone with like this much influence? Or with a... I don't know what that means.
Someone who was involved with my brother dying shouldn't have that much power.
That's what I think it is. Like in that your father is who your father is or whatever.
Yeah.
I think this is a very clear enemies to lovers trope happening with them, and her choice for enemy is because Dane was part of the reason that Violet
Liam
went with Xaden, so therefore Liam went with Violet, and then Liam died or whatever. And that in the letters that Liam wrote her, it's all about how much he loves Violet and how he thinks Dane's the worst because of how he treated Violet or who knows what, you know.
Yeah,
And then,
that's true.
so she forgives Violet, but she hasn't forgiven Dane. That's what I'm guessing with the someone like you. But it also means that he has a lot of power, more than we know.
Yeah.
And then what does that mean, and how his signet works and how much it's grown and stuff? We haven't seen him use it since Fourth Wing. So, I don't know.
That's true. I, for one, am so here for this. I am
The power
very
or the
much
enemies
here.
to lovers?
all of it. I'm very much here for this Dane Sloan storyline. Dane eyes here, Atos, but I'm here as the balance for Lauren because Lauren has some things to say about it, and so I'm giving you the floor. I'm gonna let you rant your rant.
Thank you. The balance, like, I'm just saying that you're the Venin in this case. Just kidding. Okay, don't get me wrong. I am all about love and romance. Like, I am the captain of the ships. I'm here for it. I'm okay with them. I am happy for them. I hope that works out. Don't get me wrong. My problem with Eyes Here, Dane Atos, is that all we've seen of Dane is him like betraying Violet, and then he's kind of trying to go through this whole little redemption arc type thing, but he's like super side character, maybe a line here or there, maybe a redemption arc, I don't know, okay, kind of. One flirtatious line, and every person on the internet is fangirling over Dane Atos more than I've ever seen them fangirl over like a character in my life. And like they literally hated on Dane for years. Like the amount of Dane hate in the world for years that's out there. And then this one line, these two words, and all of a sudden we love him. And the only reason that bothers me is because there are 8 books of Kale Westfall where he has some flaws and he has some moments, but he literally has crawled on the floor to get to Irene and have his moment and has all his redemption arc, and yet we can't forgive Kale. And everyone still trashes on him. Redemption for Kale Westfall. That's
Redemption for Kale Westfall.
Redemption for Kale.
My boy.
I'm totally on Lauren's side of this whole. She
Yeah,
went on
I
this
think-
the other day, and I was like, "You're totally right." And the way that like I read it as like, "Eyes here, pay attention," not "eyes here." Like he's literally part of a commanding force telling his underlings how to act in a fight. This is not like anything romantic.
It's not. You're correct.
But
To be fair, it's really I think it's the collection. It's the collection of quotes here because it was Eyes Here. It was Gods Don't I Know It. It was the artery power chooses to flow through your life. Like it was kind of all of those things combined. And Eyes Here is just the common
Right, yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
romance situation. I think Rebecca knew what she was doing,
Oh, I
knowing
think so,
that people would totally take it that way.
and
And
I
we
am
know that
all
like
about
her
it.
favorite
Like,
character is Dane, but
if you want to love Dane Atos, that's great for you. I'm so happy that Eyes Here made you love him again. But don't do that and then turn around and hate Kale. You cannot do both. I do not accept it. You either hate them both or you
Yeah.
love them both. That's your choice.
I'm on your side. I like
Tell
that.
him. Tell him,
That's
Lauren.
fair. Yeah, that's fair. I just think it's so funny that you're like, no, absolutely not. This is dumb. Specifically because of Kale.
Because of Kale.
If I didn't for Kale, yes, you'd be all over this.
Probably. If I didn't just spend the last year of my life reading Throne of Glass for this podcast, we'd be having a different conversation.
I think even if I hadn't read any of these books and someone was like, there's characters in both of these series that have a redemption. One of them has 3 lines in a book. One of them has an entire book of his redemption. I'd be like, oh, okay, so he deserved it more.
2.
Right,
Kingdom of
yeah.
Ash is also redemption. For
That's
Kale,
true,
for
yeah,
anything,
yeah.
And all his forgiveness
Yeah.
with his friends and all the things. Like,
True.
I'm just oof, gets me fired up.
Kale could kick Dane's ass.
This.
Okay. I did include the note. Connor already said it, where, Sloan was just like, something about, I'm going to hurt you. And Dane goes, Godstone, I know it. And I was like, oh, he's so in love. And I'm so happy for them.
Yes.
I'm so happy. Like, I don't want my rant to make people think that I hate him. I don't. I'm happy for him. I want him to have redemption. I would love him to be a part of the club and all the things. But as much as, like, I hated him for years, I'm very strong about my passion
I think it's
for
funny
Kale,
that you keep
so.
saying years, and Iron Flame literally
Years.
came out like 6 months after Fourth Wing.
No, but, like, from Fourth Wing to Onyx Storm, it's been time.
There has been a little bit of time. I mean, did you guys read it right out the gate, though?
Connor
I think I read it in June, and then I made you read it in like July. But then Iron Flame came out in November of that year. Yeah, it was pretty close. But we did really hate on Dane.
Close enough that we both were part of the beginning hype, but not close enough that we missed first edition prints.
Well, I also
Fourth
wasn't
Wing.
really buying physical copies of books at the time, so I don't know if I. Yeah.
I think, like, maybe a hot take. I think all books and book series should have a lightning rod for hatred, where it's a character that might be not on the bad side, but you just hate everything they do. And you're just like, man, I hate you, and I have no reason not to, but I'm like, you're good enough that you could stay, but yeah. That would be... I need someone who doesn't get redeemed because they're not bad enough to be redeemed. They're just bad enough to be like, well, I don't really like you that much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. I feel like it gives you a more diverse cast of characters.
Yeah.
And like
A realistic
you
take.
should have some...
There's
Yeah,
always
you should
people in
have
your
some
life that you don't
emotional
like,
reactions.
but you don't
yeah,
hate.
that
They're
aren't
just kind of there.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you love the lovable characters more.
Yeah.
Well, Sloane's mouth tightens and Dane grits his teeth. So we got some double drinkies.
The tension in the room, am I right? And then as Dane is leaving with Sloan, Violet tries to tell him thank you to Dane. And he says, don't thank me. Just tell me later what the F Garrick and Chad disappeared in, or how Garrick and Chad disappeared into the air. Because Dane saw Garrick's second signet and saw that moment. And I think even before that, like, Xaden was like, how much do we trust him? He's like, not enough, not this much, like, or whatever. But he saw it now. So Dane's going to be on the inside, or I guess Imogen maybe could, like, erase his memory or something.
Yeah. So this is the part where it mentions that Violet, like, just puts this package from Aric in her pocket instead of opening it. And I was like, girlfriend, what are you doing? But what do you guys think is in this package from Aric? I was just, like, mad she didn't open it here.
Condoms.
She just got a letter. She just got a letter.
Aric said you need these. No, I think it would make sense for it to be something related to Dune, since that's apparently what he's seen a lot of in her future, and it's related to her heavily. I didn't actually think of it till you said it, but she does fit it in her pocket, which sort of limits the options. Most of the gifts she's gotten so far from anyone who gives her anything is a dagger. Like, Satan's given her daggers. I forget who else
She got a
did
pocket
early
watch
on.
from those people on
Compass.
Well,
It's a
yeah,
rune.
but that was...
the compass.
Oh, yeah, like a rune, something like that. But...
It's cylinder, right? Or whatever shape it was.
I
Was
thought
it?
it just said a package.
I
Did
thought
it describe it? Maybe it did.
Yeah, I think it had a shape. I had a note. My phone is not phoning right now.
Well, if it's cylinder,
can't
then
open
maybe
it.
not. Unless it's like a stiletto
Yeah, it's like a
dagger.
circle package. Oh, maybe
It's
here it
a
is.
new tumbler.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
this is
you
so
look like
cute,
a
Aric.
raisin. That gives water.
Taryn told you not to dehydrate, so.
Yeah, I would think it would be some sort of weapon like that. Like she's gotten the special daggers before. She's gotten the daggers with runes on them. That seems to be like, the thing that everyone knows to get her. Daggers and gift cards.
My favorite. How did you know?
Gift cards.
I think she'll remember that she has it at just the perfect time, and she'll
Oh.
open it.
And it's going to say, like,
course.
turn around.
I forgot I had this.
Right us. Every now and then I fall apart.
She says, Sloan races our way, reaching into her flight jacket, retrieving a cylindrical parcel the length of her hand. Aric told me you'd need this.
Opens it up and it's a fat joint. Like, you're going to want to light this one up.
It's like a cigar for
Arc
after the
didn't
battle.
Need a,
Some,
wind down later.
What was it called? Churrum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and then I keep bringing up Brennan's scar today because this is like the note I was leading up to. So Sloan just uses her power to siphon on Dane's arm and I guess Brennan's neck, according to this.
Yeah.
And as they walk away, Violet says, I watch as Brennan walks away. Weird. There's no mark on the back of his neck like he carries on his palm. There hadn't been one on Dane's wrist either. So she's expecting that rune or like the scar that's on his hand to be there. Is that what she's guessing happened when Naolan siphoned and helped Brennan come back to life or whatever? So that's why she's thinking that rune is there? Is that what that means?
I don't think this was about there's no mark at the back of his neck like the one he carries
On his palm.
on his palm.
There hadn't been one on
I
Dane's
thought-
wrist either.
I don't know. Because Naolan was a siphon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but we don't know like the details of how he saved Brennan, right?
No,
No,
we don't
just
know
that
anything.
he gave
Right.
too much or whatever.
I had a note on this, like this quote that just said, because Sloan isn't Venin, like I assumed that Dane's mark on his wrist was just because Jack was Venin, but I forgot that she mentioned the
One on his
rune
palm.
on Brennan's palm. Maybe she assumed that like if it was from a Venin, it would leave that like gray mark, like you'd been drained, and then if it was from a siphon,
yeah.
you would have some kind of rune. But I feel like that doesn't make sense if it's not intentional.
Yeah.
Oh, because that's where Sloan was grabbing. But I didn't realize that Sloan was holding the back of Brennan's neck, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't either until this line.
Yeah.
But she also would have been touching Lilith at the end of Iron Flame,
And that didn't
and
happen
obviously
there.
she died. So like I don't know, but
I just think, while I obviously don't know the answers, this is just another Rebecca being like,
Yeah.
yeah,
that rune isn't what you think it is, or whatever. Like, and I don't have the answers to it. It's just weird. And maybe
Well, maybe
Violet's
this is
starting
sort
to
of
put
a-
pieces together or something that's different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
maybe this is sort of a roundabout explanation as to why Violet's never outright asked Brennan about the scar on his palm because she
Because she
just
just
assumed that it was from Naolan saving him.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
No answers.
we've had many names for our beloved Xaden Ryerson.
Yeah, we
Wing
did.
leader, Zaddy,
Ugh.
Lieutenant Ryerson,
Ooh.
Dookie.
I'm so sorry. That caught me off guard.
Professor Ryerson. But I would like to take a moment here to welcome our newest inductee into the Hall of Fame and my personal favorite nickname, the Duke of Angst.
I don't know. I think
Angst.
Dookie's top tier for me.
Pretty good.
So good.
I laughed so hard on my first read when Bodhi called him that at the end of this chapter.
Yep.
Easily my
He'd been-
favorite thing Bodhi has ever said.
He'd been waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now that
he's
the
held
Duke
on to
of
that one
Angst
for a
is gone.
But this really was like a moment where they were all like a little circle of a team, like, okay, we're gonna go do this and you do that, and okay, we'll see you later. Ready, break. And now it's like Bodhi and Violet are left there, and everybody else is kind of off doing their own adventures, and then it like takes us to the end of the book. Wild. Okay. So what are your current character thoughts, gentlemen? Where you at?
Well, Aric clearly knows more about what is needed and what's going on. I don't know why Violet is being so dumb about this, especially with Sloan delivering whatever that was to her. I'm on Dane watch a little bit with that whole interaction with Sloan from him. Obviously, we figured out what the mark on his forearm was, but I'm still kind of, I feel like he's going to play a bigger part in future books. And I expect to see more of Second Squad in this last section.
Yes, squad.
I know they, well, obviously, other than Sloan, who like broke formation, I know like the first years are supposed to be back at the wards or behind the wards or whatever. But so I'm assuming
Arc's
we'll
the
get
first
to
year,
see. Oh yeah, that's true. I'm assuming we'll see a little bit more of some of that action with the Second Squad.
Yeah, we didn't see like Sawyer at all, and Riddick only had one little line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
this
But
episode.
maybe a death or two.
Stop it.
I don't know, man. We
Bite
keep
your
getting.
tongue.
We
Of
keep
who?
getting like almosts here.
Yeah.
Like with like Riddick and Meera, and it's just like somebody's getting it in the last section.
Who? Are
I
you
don't
calling
know.
out?
No, I'm not calling out anybody.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Make a statement. Just go for it. Throw it out there.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anybody. I haven't thought about that.
No. All
not,
right.
Not
well.
too much about it.
I just, for my own, I really didn't call anyone either, but I did say that it kind of sucks that Andarna's gone. I'm assuming we don't see her again this book, since there's only 45 pages left. I feel like if she came back, that would sort of cheapen the blow. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. I still don't really give a rip about Violet and Zayden's relationship. Honestly, just so tired of them acting like the future of the world hinges on them being in the same bed. Just like, get over it. Do war and then figure your own lives out.
But they're in
Word.
love.
Yeah, well, so are plenty of
Related
other people
things.
who are dying because they keep delaying the war.
Got him.
Awkward. All right. We are at thoughts and theories for the last time for the Empyrean series.
Oh my
What
gosh.
do you got?
Well, honestly, I wrote, honestly, man, at this point, I'm not even sure we're going to get a Theophany fight. I hope we do, but like, Chick just keeps running away. She's like, let's do this, Violet. You know, and then, but chase me first. Ha ha ha, you'll never catch me. It's infuriating.
Silver hair flies in the wind.
It's infuriating. She's skipping to her wyvern. You'll never catch me.
Like those memories of a dead wife in a movie. Chase
Yeah.
me, Violet. Chase
Yeah. She always gets
God,
like
it's in black and white.
an inch from her, but never actually
Yeah.
touches her.
Yeah.
I think we'll actually see, or we would see possibly a Jack reprise before we would get a Theophany fight.
Okay.
And honestly, that might be like the end point of the book here is like kind of Jack showing up like, oh my gosh, he's you know, like back at his like full power or something, whatever. And like I agree with Kyle. I don't think we'll see Andarna again in this book. Yeah. Maybe we might get, you know, a
Separate
prologue.
POV. Oh, yeah.
Maybe a few pages of prologue or
You
something.
mean epilogue?
Epilogue, thank you.
A prologue is a pre-book.
Pre-book.
An epilogue is the post-book.
Thank you.
What's a monologue?
Mid-book.
No.
Yeah, if somebody's talking for a really long time, it's going to happen in the book.
It's a mid-book blurb.
It's a mid-book blurb. I can't say it.
Well, speaking of mid books, just kidding.
Kyle?
Don't
Take
come at me.
that
It was a joke. It was a joke. I don't have my official rating yet. I just wrote, I'm pretty sure Violet and Zayden are still going to get married. I really do like picture it as like a rushed thing before, or it's either going to be before a battle and Zayden's going to be like, I'm not going to risk my life without knowing that we're connected forever. Swishes his hair, yeah. Or after a battle where they're like, oh my god, I can't believe we made it, and they just freaking make out and get married for no reason in the middle of a field.
Let's go to Vegas, babe.
Yeah, let's do it. What? Are we crazy? Are we sure we can do this?
I love crazy.
I do imagine we're gonna end on some huge fight and maybe have to wait however long for the next book to see like the aftermath of the fight. I don't know, like because like it could be the whole battle, it could be like mid-battle something even crazier happens and they're like, oh crap, and then I don't know when the next book comes out, but good luck everyone.
Neither do I.
I'm hoping for some cool last minute growth in characters or signets before the end, but with how little time left, I don't know how in depth things will really get. I really just sort of want another one of those scenes like when Ree and the gang were like just throwing back and forth with their signets all at once.
Yeah.
I'd love to have another something like that, but
What?
yeah.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
We're gonna finish. I don't know what I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've been like
Cry.
Empyrean Series has been 2025 for me. Like it's gonna be over. I'm gonna be sad.
2025?
Don't worry about it.
Like
You'll
because of
be
more
you'll be
Empyrean or the
you'll be
next
just
book?
fine. You'll be
You'll
just
be
fine. Trust me.
good.
You'll be just fine. Trust me.
Ooh.
I can't wait. He's so confident about it
Yeah.
too.
Wow, he
You'll
is.
be just fine.
I can't wait. Okay. Well, that takes us to the cry counter. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I am in the
Oh.
lead again because I cried 3 times, doubling my cry count. So I'm at 6.
The
Woo,
queen!
The winner!
The Queen of Sorrow!
Queen of
Queen of Sorrow.
We'll get you a little crown. That says
Put a
Queen of
little
Sorrow.
crown on my head.
With some tears.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
So I'm winning with 6. And Con has cried 4 times. And the boys still bet 2 big old dragon eggs.
Yeah.
Can't get
nothing
him
worked.
on this series.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh.
Somebody put
Yeah.
a comment on that, like somewhere, Iron Flame, like, I don't think Kyle will cry this whole time. It's like,
Yeah.
you're right.
And
Well,
if it didn't happen for
What a
Andarna,
risky bet you're making.
You tell him, Kyle.
well, stay tuned to see if it happens next week because we will be finishing all of Onyx Storm.
Wow.
Come back and discuss the chaos of chapters 60 to
Thanks, Owen.
65 with us, followed by a full series Q&A and a very special guest episode with Lexi and Nicole from Fantasy Fangirls. We will answer all of your burning questions about the Empyrean series, your theories, your ranking questions, your really ridiculous whatever you can come up with. We will be talking about all of it the week after. So stay up to date on all of our announcements and book-loving posts over on Instagram and TikTok at Between Pages and Friends in the meantime.
All right. Well, we've emotionally blacked out enough for one episode. If your brain feels like it just ran a marathon through a fantasy battlefield and a spicy slow burn, congrats. You're one of us now. For more unhinged reactions, semi-coherent opinions, and deeply unnecessary tangents, sprint. Don't walk. Sprint over to BetweenPagesAndFriends.com. That's where we keep the secret stash, bonus content, exclusive chaos on Patreon, merch that might accidentally summon a fictional man, and all the links your nosy little heart could want. We'll catch you at next Spiral. Until next time, stay wordy, stay nerdy, don't stress, and stay blessed.
Stay blessed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Confetti.
Stay blessed.
Cool, man.